Welcome to the Brains Body Learning System. I'm Dr. Christopher Kevin Slaton, Human Learning Consultant, Progressive Invested Institute of Focused Learning, and author of Education and Science, The Brain's Body, Help to Improve Brain, Body, and Sense Events. Now, this is a talk to stop the spread of hurt, pain, and sadness when your sense and receive paths have been damaged by major life events that affect how you live, learn, think, and respond in relation to home, school, and workplace networks. Now, the beginning is a journey. That's why I want to come back, because this is Dr. Slaton Live, and the ultimate experience is what we've been talking about today. And so, you got to get the book. The Brains Body Learning System, right? It's about education and science, how the brain lives, or how the brain learns, how the body lives, right? And how the human system thinks. And you're going to be understanding that as we go forward, because it's all about preparing you to deal with today's human learning crises. The experience of energy, action, and feelings began at the breath of life. The experiences of contact, interaction, cooperation, participation began at the breath of life. The experiencing of living, learning, thinking, and responding again began with the breath of life. And that's the challenge, because as you move forward, if you came into this world in crises, then what level are you functioning at? Are you just living? Do you actually know how to learn? Are you learning from the experience of self and other people? Or are you caught up in just trying to survive? We're talking about a human learning crises, and how do you move through it? Because these variables is part of human systems science with the brain's body learning system. And that's how we get you caught back up and put back online, because what we're doing is, here is your energy, action, and feelings moving through the brain's body. And here's the contact. You must learn how to move from one step to the next step, to the next step, to the next step. So contact to live, interaction to learn, cooperation to think, participation to respond, and then you got feedback that's coming at you. And you got to handle that. That's why we talk about the brain, the body, and the senses, because we have to set you up mentally to accept that tension, stress, and pressure that's going to be coming at you as you continue to move through it. Now, a lot of parents bring their children to because they themselves have been caught up in substance abuse-related disorder that have impacted their child, either environmentally or while they were in utero, right? So if it was in utero, we're talking about a child-related disorder that's undefined because it deals with the human system. What's going on inside the actual body that we can't see, and all we can figure it out, or it can be figured out, is over time. So this kid has to learn over time if, in fact, and to what extent the substance abuse has affected their human system, their brain, their body, their sense systems, their organs. Okay? Yes. And so what I'm talking about here is the physical, emotional, mind states of the behavior model that we have to change, because you're concerned with the mental aspects in the front versus the physical, because you must learn how to move through this negative field of energy, right? So damaged sense and receive path functions, brain events, a lack of self-control, BAM, a lack of self-discipline, that's the body, sense events, a lack of self-care. Now, all three of these variables deal with disconnected sense and receive path functions when a foreign substance or chemical imbalance are occurring inside your brain's body that effect, or influence your ability to move through the crises. So what I'm using to talk to you today on this critical subject. So here you have the brain and the body / and that's because we want to talk about the affect, action, the brain action, the affect, and then the effect. We talk about the affect, we're talking about the brain in relation to the pain, in relation to the hurt, in relation to the sadness. These are fields, like I showed you before. These are field of experiences that you are encountering. Effect, This is the physical side. We can see the neglect, we can see the abandonment, we can see the abuse, right? So it's a physical effect now. Affect meant that it was hidden. We couldn't see it, but now we can. So we're going to follow it through the senses. When we talk about the senses, we're looking at the isolation, the withdrawal, and the refusal. That's an influence. So now we know we have the affect and effect that's being influenced, right? Because you're doing these things here, right? And we don't want you those things there. We want you to focus on how do you recover your sense of feel for the brain. The brain. That's what we're talking about in this here situation, right? So it gets more complicated, but it's going to be simplified because we start off with human systems research. This research, you go right here. That's the study of self, other people, and the environment, because you have to deal with you first. And when you deal with you first, you don't want to isolate, so you have to include other people. And other people are included because you have to have a sense of feel of self in relation to other people to move through the environment of home, school, neighborhood, workplace, network effectively, right? Then we have to stage events so that you can practice what we're talking to you about. So those are events, affects, and goals. So you know we're talking about mental, not emotional. We're talking about the mental processing because emotion is a mental effect, inner effect. Okay, so now we're also talking about these variables over here. So now we're back to the brain's body learning system. Why? Because we're talking about living through sense and receive path functions, learning through sense and receive path functions. We're talking about thinking through sense and receive path functions, dealing with how you move through contact, how you move through interaction, how you cooperate. Now look at the system, brain, body, sense events. That's the organization of mental, physical, and emotional conditions, utilizing the brain's body learning system, okay? I want to make that clear because this is where we want to be. We want to be where you can actually see it's your brain's body because you understand how to move through a sense of feel for self, other people, and through these modules because you're practicing moving through the event of self, the effect other people may have on you, and the goals in terms of the environment because you must be successful in your home, school, and workplace networks. Those are just simple goals, but I don't make the goals. You make the goals. I'm just reading them so that you can have some clarity or a path in which you can understand what I'm saying. Now, the problem to be solved. I talked to you at the beginning with substance abuse-related disorders. This is the behavior model. Read it. The physical response. So here's the environment. You are induced with the instruction, and it goes, and you just respond. Your mind is a reflective state of the conditioning. Therefore, when you respond, you're not responding mentally. You're responding as you've been trained to respond. Here you have the human brain. We're talking about human system science, though. Brain, body, sense events, and you know it's mental. The brain is mental, not physical. The brain is mental, and you want the physical body to not be in the lead, but the mental part to be in the lead of the body. That's why we say it's here. Now, physically, we're always talking about the state of mind. When we talk about behavior, we're always talking about the mind. That's why I told you I don't believe in the mind, because the mind is a reflection of the experience that is caught up in everybody's sense and receive path that makes you predictable because they're not dealing with the brain. Because the brain will try to change the behavior. It will talk to you. It will try to let you know we don't like the way that it's causing us to feel. We must do something different. We have to try something else. It will try, the brain will try to control that emotion. You get those voices coming back at you saying, look, we did this. That's terrible. Why did we do that? Okay, so what I'm saying is let's organize our discussion about the brain's body, because the brain's body deals with the mental sense of feel for self, the body, the emotional state of the body, right? I said it again. I didn't say the emotional mind. I said the emotional state of the body. I can say the emotional state of the behavior, because the body, physical, mind, is talking about the body, not the brain, not the mental part, just the body. Here I'm talking about the emotional, the mental, emotional, physical state of what? The brain. That's the difference. We can solve the problem as we move forward if you just understand what I just now said, because that's human system science, brain, body, and sense events. And so you want to be mental, emotional, and physical. Why? Because now the mental and the physical is in combination. You have a balance that's handling that emotional effect. That emotional effect, right? Okay. We move forward. Because sensory receive path recovery plans have to start with the mission. And we're talking about how do you set this process up. I'm telling you how we set this process up. I took you through some steps. You have to have a mission. And in your mission, you have to have human learning goals. Why? Because we're talking about a behavior model that had nothing to do with actual human learning. Because humans learn through contact, transferred interaction, because the brain kicks in, right? And so you have to cooperate. Why? Because you haven't been taught how to interact with the brain. So your sense of feel for self does not automatically connect to the brain, because who's told you that? Who's taught you how to connect your sense of feel for self to the brain? That's what we're talking about. So your human learning goals are process cycles that help you learn your brain. So that's what human learning is how do you learn to work with your brain inside your body, right? And we use the community, home, school, and workplace networks to do that. So we have a relationship between the parent, the child, and the leader. In this type of situation, we want the parent to be the event, the leader is the goal, and the affect is the child. In this situation, we're talking about the parent, who we want to be the leader. And why? Because we know that if the parent is led to lead, they build confidence in front of the kid then turns around and tries to not compete, but work through the mother's modeling or the father's modeling, right? So then the kid becomes the helper, okay? And so who's the teacher? That's what we're talking about. That's what you're trying to improve, the teachability of the family system. That's why it's in the center, because the child's hurt, right? So who's the teacher? Either one of you can be the teacher now. Why? Because you're working on a strategy. We're trying to go from brain, right, instead of behavior, because that's what you're trying to replace, your behavior. So you have to work through your mental side of self, not your behavioral side of self, because that's a state of mind. You don't want to be in a state of mind because that means you're locked in. You're too afraid to take a chance on, wow, if I change, my kid may overwhelm me or so may get the best of me. No. You have to take the time to learn how to practice living through a sense of feel for self and the brain and the lead of the body, which means no longer can your body act out because you're mentally now online to manage the emotion, right? To discipline the body, to focus the senses. That's what we're talking about. So the helper, the parent, and the child is a system. It's in a system. So here's your event, which is the helper. And then you have the goal, which is the parent. And who are we trying to improve? The child, the effect that's on the child. So if the child begins to talk, interact, cooperate, and participate, we know that they are now back online. The sensory receive path is highly more functional than it was because they're allowing energy, action, and feeling to move through the sensory receive path. And now they're becoming more responsive to how they live, learn, think, and respond in home, school, neighborhood, workplace. And if they're not, we just look at the environment where they're having a difficulty, and we go in there, we modify, we change, we make it more predictable in terms of processing, right? Because it is a program, but we're infusing process cycles, right? Which takes it a whole other level. So the next thing is problem context. We're talking about the process of advocacy, and I'm saying that it's all hands on deck. Mom, dad, brother, sister, aunts, cousins, friends, everybody's on deck because it's a process of advocacy. Why? Because we have to recover from this drug epidemic that has decimated our family systems and spread hurt, pain, and sadness throughout where we can't even relate and connect anymore because we're afraid of each other. We don't trust each other. Now, I'm talking about read the book. Read the book. Go in the book. It's research-based. Put it to you like this. Wait a minute. Listen. Human research investigations. with schools, government. I mean, there's so many people inside this book that I've interviewed that we're talking through right now. So when we talk about the transition or transformation of inner advocacy within a crisis situation, right? We're talking about how do we stop the pain? How do we slow down? How do we slow down the effect of the sadness, right? How do we stop the hurt? See, that's what we're talking about. And so give it to us. We're working on this problem, and if you join the team, we might hit a home run. That's what we're looking for. By a learning system, go back to the book. We took a lot of time to put this book together. I'm talking about the cover and the book, but I'm just fascinated with the cover because it explains everything that I want to talk about. The brain, the body, the neurologic systems. I don't have to be a neuroscientist. All I have to know is that it's a physical picture of all the things that I may want to talk about that other people can't talk about because they have no sense or feel for self in the brain. And the brain is the neurological networks, and it runs throughout your whole body. Yes, your whole body. Okay? And so when we talk about contact, interaction, cooperation, participation, that's what I'm saying. There's levels to this. Level 1 contact, right? Moving that information, level 1, right? Transferring to level 2, interaction, right? And that depends on where you're aiming your mission and your goals. My first goal would be to sustain positive contact inside the home long enough to learn how to live inside a house so one day I may own one. That's the business side of the brain's body learning system. But sense and receive paths, functions is what we're trying to add clarity to. And it's easier to add clarity because we live in a capitalist society when you set goals and objectives that work well within the context of capitalism, where you're competing to learn how to live more effectively, understanding the cost, because it costs you to heal. It costs you to care, right? It costs to have feeling, right? And so the sense and receive path functions that we're clearing or opening, right, allow your brain, body, and sense systems become more recognizable because you're understanding how you perform in these situations. See? So we're talking about total recovery, or recovery to the maximum levels that you possibly can, right? And you start somewhere because all you're trying to do is say, I will not live in all this hurt, all this pain, all this sadness. I want to have a good day without experiencing so much ugliness, hate. You see? So no, we're working on it. We're working on it. So here's the next one. And here's your help. See? Because teachers, health human service professionals, we're talking about human system science. They got to get the book. You got to get the book. See? It's a book on it. Yeah, I'm not going to waste any time. I'm telling you who your helpers are. And these people have to come online because they are committed to helping you. Parents, teachers, health human service professionals, go talk to them. Their role and function is to help you. A parent's job is to help other parents. That's right. Teachers' role is to help teachers as well as other parents. Equally, because they're a team. The only thing separating is the parent don't know where he or she'll get their income from, but I'm talking about that right now. Because when you teach a child how to move through the school system, you're improving your occupational skills because you're moving through contact, interaction, cooperation. So if you had damaged sense and receive path functions, you are improving your sense and receive path functions through working with your child, right? And moving your child through contact interaction. That may be difficult for you, but you're working through the focus of trying to heal your child's sense and receive path, which makes it easier, more committing for you to do so. As the model, we talked about that. This is a brain's body learning system, okay? And here we go. I just talked about it. Now, what we talking about? The information. How do you transfer the information? Now, if you're stuck at level 1 and you're not even living, that means that information is just sitting there in the sense path, right? Because you can't transfer it, you can't convert it. Why? Because you are unable to move through the feelings of hurt, anxiety, anger, right? Anger, fear. How about that word? Fear. Fear of what? Being changed. Why? Because you're in a defensive posture where you're saying my state of mind is not going to change because this is how I protect myself, right? That's the behavior model. The brain's body model, human system science says no. No, you work from your brain through your body to your senses so that you become more mental. So when you hit that contact, you're not giving in, you're saying, I must move through this feeling. And when you move through that feeling, right, now you are interacting. And as you interact, you're transferring that energy, action, and feeling to the next level. The experience, the knowledge, the comprehension. Now you have a positive feedback loop. That negative energy can be confronted through process cycles. Learning how to live through the experience. Learn how to learn through the experience. Learn how to think through the experience. Learning how to respond through the experience. Now, build that bridge from there. See? Because those words are real words that deal with how you live in a home, learn in school, pick a neighborhood, and in the workplace. Respond. See? So now you're transferring a mental process cycle that you can frame in your sense and receive path rather than just walk up against the wall and say you give it in. No, you are improving your ability to compete. Because what are you doing? You are learning how to live through the contact. You are learning how to learn through the interaction. And that's real. Go talk to a teacher. Go talk to another educator, and they'll tell you when you can move through the way you interact. You're opening yourself up to the processing of that information. And that's the experience. And once you have the experience, now you combat what you didn't have before you took that chance and moved through that experience of hurt. That's what we're talking about. It's a crisis, but we can get through it. Check out the book, Information Processing Age, The Learning Parent and Child in Crises. Check out the book. It's a support book, but it has so many different process cycles in it to help you understand the brain's body learning systems. That's why it's called plural, systems, not just one. There are systems because no one is the same. Everybody's problem is different, right? So you can't have a one fix. I told you this is not a behavior system. This is a human system science model, which means people think, because that's how we're created. To change, be changed by the changes that we experience. I just said it again. Experiences, experiencing. I said it again. Levels to this. There's levels to this, right? And that's what we're talking about, the brain body learning system. So human system science and the brain body help. I've had a lot of help. I've had a lot of help. You can see I've had a lot of help. These are just examples of people helping me. And they helped me, and I became a better helper. Why? Because they helped me. And if you get the help that you need, you build that help, you build that team. And that don't mean you got to meet every day. That just means you have to learn how to move through people and interact with people in such a way that they recognize what you're trying to accomplish. And they don't get in your way. See, they don't hurt you, but they get out of the way. Like what I'm saying to you is, when I talk about your sense of feel for self, I'm saying get you out of the way. Stop. Get you out of the way. Put yourself on the sideline and watch and observe how this process unfolds. That's what I'm saying to you, right? And just listen and learn, right? You can see everything, right? Be patient, okay? Observe, listen, learn, okay? Don't just jump in. Don't jump in until you're ready to help. When you're ready to help, then you're ready to lead. Lead who? Self. In relation to the brain. See? And when you get involved in it, there's no turning back. Because now you're the helper. See? Because you're able to think it through. You understand, if you can think it through, people are going to join you. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to raise your level of attention for self, other people, and the community. People that live, learn, think, and respond in home, school, neighborhood, workplace, networks, family, education, government, business systems. So again, the brain's body learning system, community-based learning system is very well integrated, is very well organized. I'm telling you, I got to tune out because I run out of time, but do take that 15-minute consult and we can connect again. Thank you. Dr. Slaton Live, tuning out. Brains, Body, Ultimate Experience. I've enjoyed this session. I hope you did too. Sorry I couldn't spend more time on the content, but I think I gave you the gist of what you possibly could experience through the Brains Body system.